Hello, welcome to the 120 Q&A practice. We're going to start out with plaintiff questioning. Ready? What is your occupation, Mr. Patterson? I occasionally work as a truck driver, sir. All right. Do you know the defendants in this case, Mr. and Mrs. Knight, seated there at the counsel table? Yes, I do. And when was the first time that you met them? Not knowing the exact date, it was some time last year, about the latter part of last year. In the fall, sometime last year? Yes. Where do you live, Mr. Patterson? I live in Portland, Oregon. All right. Do you know a Mr. Anthony Winston, also known as Tony? Yes, sir, I do. How long have you known him approximately? About 10 years. All right. Did you have occasion to meet the Knights through Mr. Winston? Yes, I did. I met Mr. Knight through Mr. Winston. All right. Do you recall where the meeting was, where you met Mr. Knight? Yes, I met Mr. Knight in Eugene on the corner of 8th and Fremont in a car. What was the occasion for the meeting? Well, after we went to a beer bar, shortly after we met, we went to a bar. We discussed a little place of business that Mr. Knight owned in Eugene. Had you any conversation with Mr. Winston about this prior to the time you met Mr. Knight? Yes, he told me about this business in Eugene, and he wanted me to meet Mr. Knight. All right. What was the discussion you had then in his beer bar? This was in regards to a clothing store on the state highway in Eugene, which he had wanted destroyed. And this conversation was with Mr. Knight? Yes, sir. Was anybody else present? Tony was also there at the time. All right. About how long did you talk to Mr. Knight on this date? We perhaps spent approximately a half hour together. All right. What, if any, arrangements did you make about this place of business on State Highway in Eugene? We discussed the money that was to be given to me. All right. And can you relate what that discussion was, please? Well, he said that he was going to pay $100,000 and that the money would sort of be left in escrow with Tony to be paid after the job was completed. All right. Were there any definite arrangements made about when the job was to be done? Well, yes, I went to Eugene once to look at the place. About a week after that, the place had to go before the 31st, something to that effect. 31st of what? 31st of what month, I mean? Well, the month of the explosion. Was that the 31st of December? I don't know what month it was. What were you talking about? You know, he said it had to be destroyed completely before the 31st of December? Yes, because of some insurance reason. It lapsed or expired or something to that effect. Well, now, was it in December that you went to Eugene, or do you recall? I think it was December that I went down there. All right. You stated that you went down there. Is that right? Yes, sir. Do you remember where you stayed when you were down there? When I was down there the first time, I stayed at the Hyatt Hotel in Eugene. All right. Your Honor, I have what appears to be a registration card from the Hyatt Hotel in the name of Eric McNabb. I would like this marked as People's Next in Order for identification. It will be marked People's 3 for identification. May I see that again, please? Thank you. Now, Mr. Patterson, I will show you People's number 3 for identification and ask you if you can recognize that document. Yes, I do. How do you recognize it? That is my signature. All right. And the name on that is Eric McNabb. Is that correct? Eric McNabb, yes. This is my mother's maiden name. My mother's name is Deanna McNabb, and my mother's brother's name is Eric. Mr. Patterson, again, looking at the document, the date, I believe, appears to be November the 13th. Now, is that the correct date that you were there? November the 13th? Yes, Your Honor. Yes, sir. Could you relate to the jury, please, what you did when you were in Eugene on that particular day? On this particular day? Yes, when you were there at the Hyatt Hotel. Well, I went there to Eugene and I checked in at the Hyatt Hotel, and from there I went directly to a cocktail lounge and waited around until it was about 1 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so I'm going to switch transcripts. All right. This will also be plaintiff questioning. Now, you said that they were wrapped up in linens. Can you explain that to us? Yes. After removing the linens from the closet, I noticed that they were much heavier than they should have been. I unfolded one of them and found a large baggie of what appeared to be methamphetamine. I subsequently unfolded all the sheets and towels and discovered 3 more baggies. Is it common for people who engage in drug sales to hide drugs all over the house? Objection argumentative. Sustained. In your experience, officer, have you witnessed people who sell drugs? Same objection, Your Honor. No, he prefaced it by saying, in your experience, overruled. Officer, in your personal experiences dealing with people who sell drugs, is it common for them to hide drugs all over their residence? I have seen it, but I wouldn't say that it was common. You come across all sorts of things when drugs are involved. Okay, was anything else removed? Yes, there was a loaded Beretta 380 under some towels. Is there any place you did not find a gun? There was literally no place in that house where a gun couldn't be reached in under 2 seconds. Objection, Your Honor. Move to strike. I'm sorry, counsel. That was my fault. Those last remarks will be stricken. Continue, Mr. Smith. Were any other drugs or weapons found in those cabinets? No. Where did you go next? I then went to the master bedroom. Let me grab People's Exhibit 3 real quick. All right. Does this appear to be a diagram of the master bedroom? I know it isn't to scale, but does it appear similar? Yes. Tell us what you located in the master bedroom. Upon entering the room, I noticed a Mossberg 12-gauge pump-action shotgun leaning up against a wall next to the bed. Was that weapon loaded? Yes. Continue. In a nightstand next to the bed, I also found a loaded Colt .45 handgun. When we flipped over the mattress, we noticed that the fabric of the box spring had been cut and then repaired. I cut the box spring open and I discovered that a very large sum of money had been placed in there. Okay, and that concludes our Q&A practice for the 120 class. Have a great day.